is Julie Campbell with 2 Peas in a Bucket, and welcome to another Finally Friday card tutorial. Today we'll be making 2 cards. One will be a masculine card and one will be a feminine, using the same basic supplies. We're going to be starting out by selecting some papers from the new October Afternoon 9 to 5 8x8 paper pack. I decided to go with this paper pack because it has so many really great designs that would work well for either gender. And this pack is really a large pack. It comes with 46 pattern papers, so you get all 23 designs that would come in the normal 12 by 12 size, except you get 2 of each, and the scale of the patterns are a little bit smaller, so it works really well with cards. So these are the patterns that I've selected for the masculine card that we'll be making. I tried to get a variety of colors and patterns. And then for the feminine card, we'll be using these 3, a floral, this orange polka dot, and then this fun grid paper that's just kind of a neutral. So I went ahead and trimmed out the card fronts for each of the cards. Again, this is for the feminine card, and this is for the masculine card, and these are each A2 size, which is 4 1/4 inches wide by 5 1/2 inches long. I want to make a sunburst pattern on each of our card fronts, and to do that, what I've done, I've just taken each of the pattern paper and taken them with my paper trimmer and just cut various triangular shapes. So it's really simple to do. There's no real rhyme or reason. You just kind of move it to the width that you think you would like to use and give it a trim. So basically I did this with all of the pattern paper that I showed you earlier. And so here are my strips for the masculine card. I just cut a few out of each of the patterns. And then I just went ahead and started laying them out on my card front, and I'm just trying to kind of vary the pattern. Okay, now that I have an array of these different sunbursts, I'm just going to go ahead and adhere them onto my card front. Okay, I've finished adhering all of the different paper strips, and then I went ahead and trimmed off the paper. Any of the paper strips that extended beyond the card front, I went ahead and trimmed those pieces off. So this is what we're left with. And then I also went ahead and used my sewing machine to add some stitch lines, just to add a little more detail to the card. For the feminine card, we're going to be doing basically the same thing, but I didn't want to cover up the top of this pattern paper with the strips of the small ray strips that we would be adhering. So what I did was I just took my paper trimmer and sliced off the top of the pattern paper. So from this point, we just basically do exactly what we did with the masculine card, adhering the paper strips as before. So I'm just kind of giving you the basic idea here. So these would be adhered and trimmed as well, and then some machine stitching would be added. For the sake of time, I went ahead and have that section of the card finished. So this is what it looks like once the rays had been completed at this point. And then, as you can see, I still have this strip above, and we're just going to adhere that back onto the top of the card. So I'm just going to take a card base, and we're going to add a little adhesive here to our card. So just meet those edges up, and now you never know that that section of the card was trimmed and we still have the design elements that remain. Now we're going to add some embellishments to our cards. I'm going to be using some of these new mistable cameras. This is from Studio Calico's brand new Heyday collection. And these are really fun. As you can see, it comes with 2 sheets to a pack, so you get tons of these canvas cameras. And the really neat thing about these are, well, you can use them just as they are, as you know, just a white canvas embellishment, but they're also really great to customize for whatever project that you're using. So these are called mistables, so of course you can use mist, but there are also some other ways that you can add color and print to these. So I'm just going to show you here. Bring this back over so you can see a little bit. So here's one of the cameras, and each of these cameras are a different type. This one is a old Polaroid, and these little sections will separate from the main camera, which would allow you to add different bits of color to each section. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these little pieces, and I'm just going to adhere them right here so that I can use them again here in a moment. So I'm going to be using this on our masculine card, and just I'm going to show you what they do look like when they're misted. I'm going to be using one of the Mr. Yui's color mist. This is Dewy. I'm just going to add a little bit of color here. And I'm just going to use my heat tool just to speed up the drying process. Actually, they make nice masks as well. But we're going to be using it on our card today. And I'm just going to go ahead and place it right here. So as you can see, the rays kind of mimic the flash of the camera. That's the look that I'm going after. And these are adhesive back, so they can just be pressed directly onto the card. So you can go ahead and put those each of these elements back into the camera. But what I'm going to be using for the center of mine are one of these epoxy brads from the American Crafts Chap collection. I wanted to bring in some of this dark navy color, and several of these brads have a little sunburst that is in the center, which looks perfect for the flash of a camera. Okay, I'm just going to puncture right through the center here and go ahead and place the brad, and then from this point we can go ahead and adhere this card front onto the card base. I'm going to go ahead and bring in back in these little small sections, and actually I kind of like the dark showing through here, so I'm just going to leave the rest of this how it is. For our feminine card, I'm going to be using this camera from above, so I'm going to do just like I did earlier and separate the different sections of this camera. Now this time, instead of misting, I'm going to show you what these canvas shapes look like when you add ink to them. So I'm going to be adding some of this Prima chalk ink. This color is called Rusty Keys, and I really like this ink because it has just this nice fine point at the end. It makes it easy to apply soft color. Alright, now for the center sections of this camera, I'm going to be using this Copic marker. This is Cream, which is YR21, and I'm just going to go right along the edges here and cover this entire piece. So Copic markers work really well with these canvas mistables. So this is just going to bring out the color from the flowers here. Alright, and this time for the center, instead of using a brad, I'm going to be using this blue resin flower, and this is from Crepe Paper Storyteller collection. It's their eclectic buttons set. So this has a brad back, but I don't want to pierce all the way through our card at this point, so I'm just going to go ahead and place it through here, and then I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue to this camera just to make sure that it stays in place. Our final step for this card is to create a sentiment. And for this card, we're going to be using Studio Calico's new Stepping Stone alphabet. It comes with a solid set of alphabet letters and then also an outline for each of the letters. So we're going to be creating our own custom sentiment, and I'm going to be using this long acrylic block that has grids on it. I like using a block with grids when I'm using alphabet stamps because it just helps me align everything really nicely. So for our cards today, I'm going to be using the sentiment "Oh Snap" because this is going to be a belated birthday card, and I seem to need birthday cards like this quite often. Even though I make cards a lot, I usually forget to send them out on time. So this is going to say "Oh Snap," and then on the inside you could write something like "I forgot your birthday," and something like that. So for this card, we're going to be using the solid alphabets. Okay, so I have the words "Oh Snap," but I also want an exclamation mark, and it just so happens that this set does not come with an exclamation mark. But it's an easy remedy because it does come with a period, so I'm going to place the period here, and then the letter I above that. So I'm just going to look and see how this fits on our card, and it looks like it will fit very well. Since this is a dark card base, I'm going to be embossing the sentiment using white embossing powder so that it'll show up. And what I like to do is just rub a used dryer sheet along the card, and this kind of helps any static cling that would be on the card from drawing excess embossing powder and causing little bits to be in places that you don't want them to be. And I'm going to pull out, this is just my mouse pad that I use for crafting. I like to stamp onto a surface that has a little give to it. And I'm just inking up our sentiment with some Versamark ink. And this is a clear ink that works perfectly with embossing powders. So I'm just going to line that up. And then I'm going to use a little white embossing powder on top. Just flick off the excess. And now it's time to heat set. Alright, and you know you're finished when all of the powder turns into a more slick, opaque look. So this masculine card is all finished, and now we're going to work on our feminine card. Alright, for our feminine card, the background is a nice light color, so we have a little bit more freedom on how we're going to stamp out the sentiment. I'm going to be using the same stamp that I did earlier, and I'm just going to ink this "Oh Snap" sentiment that we've created with some blue ink. But the blue ink was a little bit too dark for the card, so I am just stamping it off once to lighten the shade. And now I can go ahead and stamp that onto the card. And as you can see, it's a nice light blue shade, but it doesn't show up very well, which is one of the reasons I love this stamp set, because it has an outline stamp set that goes with it. So I'm going to be taking some dark brown ink and the outline stamps and just going along and just really making this sentiment pop. Alright, we've now completed 2 cards, one perfect for a masculine theme and one for a feminine theme. I hope you've enjoyed this Finally Friday card tutorial. Have a great weekend.